Year 2 for Friday's Maths No Problem lesson today. You may want to find this fraction wall picture that is in your home learning packs. It could be useful to you today. Okay, because we're moving on to lesson 5 of fractions, which can be found in your Maths No Problem textbook 2B, page 113. Now, today's lesson is consolidating a lot of work that you've been doing this week. Okay, so it's revising some of the things that you've been learning throughout the week and consolidating them. Let's have a little look at lesson 5's in focus task with Ravi and Ruby today. Ravi says this whole thing, and by that he means this large rectangle here, is 1. Okay, so this whole rectangle represents one whole. Ruby says, I think the shaded part is half. So she thinks that that red section there represents 1/2 of the shape that's been shaded red. Okay, is Ruby correct? So it's a bit like our true and our false. Is what Ruby's saying true or is it false? Is she correct or is she incorrect? Children, I think you will have spotted very quickly, okay, the answer to that question is Ruby correct. So let's have Holly, Elliot and Lulu helping us with our Let's Learn activities and proving whether or not Ruby was correct or incorrect in her statement. Part 1. 3 equal parts make one whole. Here, 3 equal parts make one whole. The name of each part is a third. The denominator is 3. That's very clear, isn't it? 3 equal parts. We've got 1, 2, 3. So our one whole is divided into 3 equal parts, making the denominator 3. If one part was shaded, like we have here, okay, the numerator would be 1. So let me shade that in just like our original picture here. So I'm going to find a red if I can. Let me have a little look. There we go. So red pen. Shade this section red. Okay, so this represents our red section that Ruby has said represents a half. Oh, don't want to go outside of my lines if I can help it. Okay, too bad. You get the idea, don't you? So if Ruby was correct and that was a half, okay, then we would have a shape with only 2 equal parts where the denominator is 2, but it's 3. Okay, and the one part shaded, the numerator here, means that only 1/3 of the shape is shaded. So Ruby was incorrect. If it was a half, Elliot explains here, then the shape would be divided into 2 equal parts. Okay, and if one of those was shaded red, okay, if one was shaded in red, like so, then we would have a numerator of 1, a denominator of 2, and that represents 1/2. Now, Lulu's explaining what happens when we divide that shape into 4 equal parts. The name of each part is a quarter or a fourth in Maths No Problem. The denominator's 4 because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. And if we shaded just one of those parts in red, okay, then our numerator we were asked how much is shaded now, our numerator would still be 1, but our denominator would be 4. Do you see, children? Okay, so our numerator represents the amount that's been shaded. Our denominator represents how many parts there are. Okay, so Ruby should have said, I think the shaded part is 1/3, is a third, because that is what is the correct answer for this particular picture. If it had been a half, it would have looked like this. And if it had been a quarter, it would have looked like this. Okay, so in part 4 of Let's Learn, we've got a diagram similar to the fraction wall in your learning packs, except less colourful, because this one's all blue and you've got lots of different colours. And this just shows you that one whole can be divided into 2 equal parts. So it'd have 2 halves. 3 equal parts would be 3/3, and 4 equal parts would be 4/4. Okay. Moving on to part 5, we've got Emma explaining that here the numerator is 1, okay, representing the pink shaded part. But there are 2 equal parts, so the denominator would be 2, wouldn't it? But here the numerator would be 2 because there are 2 halves coloured in. So here we've got the fraction of 1/2 shaded in, okay, but here 2 halves have been shaded in, so our numerator is 2 and our denominator is 2, so we'd write it like this. Here in this picture with the yellow rectangle shaded, we've got Ruby saying the numerator is 1 because 1 part out of how many? 3, so it makes them thirds. So we've got 1 as the numerator and 3 as the denominator. And finally, here for thirds, we've got the numerator is 2 because 2 parts have been shaded, and the denominator is 3. So 2/3 are shaded yellow. Let's have a look at this part 7 now. Oh, here we have a very interesting statement by Sam. He wants to use the word fourths. Again, I usually think we use quarters. Okay, same with Hannah, who's saying there are 2/4 shaded. So we've got fourths or quarters. Okay, here 3 have been shaded, here 2 have been shaded. So Lulu needs some help. What's the numerator going to be here? The numerator, how much is shaded? That's right. Okay, oops, need my pen. 3. And the numerator here? How many parts are shaded? 2. But the denominator would be what? If it's fourths or quarters that we're working in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 equal parts. So the fraction that's actually shaded here is 3. Oh, pen doesn't want to work. Let me try again. Not sure, children, why it's not working. There we go. 3 out of 4. 3/4, and here 2 parts shaded out of 4. Okay, so when looking here at the numerator, you also need to remember that to write your fractions successfully, you need to remember the denominator as well. So the numerator for these pictures is the number of parts shaded, and the denominator is how many equal parts the shapes have been divided into. Okay, so for your guided practice, question 1, match and fill in the blanks. So you've got to match the picture with the fraction. So how much is shaded here? All of it. So one whole of it shaded. That's easy. What about here? Well, first of all, 2 parts are shaded. That's the numerator. So I'm looking for something that's got a 2 on the top. It's going to be one of those 2. Can't be that one because 2 parts have been shaded. But is it 2 parts out of 3 equal parts? Yes. So it goes like so. Here we've got another 2 parts shaded out of how many? 4. So that's 2 quarters. Shaded. Go. Hopefully your lines will be straighter than mine. And then here we've got 1 part shaded. So that's my numerator. But my denominator is 2 because it's divided into 2 equal parts. So I join that one to that dot. And then I'm asked to write the numerator and the denominators underneath. So numerator here is 1, denominator is 2. Numerator here is 2, denominator is 3. Numerator here is 2. Denominator is, well done. Okay, so I'm just reinforcing that I understand the difference between the numerator and the denominator. Part 2, what fraction of the circle is shaded? Okay, so the name of each part is, the name of each part. What's the name of each of these parts? I don't think they've given us a big enough box to write in, do you? No, I don't think so, but you'll be writing in your textbooks anyway, won't you? Name each part, and then what is the denominator? What number will the denominator be for each of those pictures? It's not asking you to write out the whole fraction, is it? It's asking you what fraction of the circle is shaded. So you're going to have to write that as well as the name of each part and the denominator. Okay? Think carefully as you work through question 2, and then you can move on to the workbook, worksheet 5, pages 103 to 104, which is more work on your naming of parts and your denominators for question 1, and for question 2 your numerator and your denominator is important, and you need to work out the fraction of the shape that is shaded as well. Okay, so I think you will find this quite straightforward because you've got really good grasp on numerators and denominators now. Okay, so let me just do this first one with you so that I can model it. But remember, the answers are always on tapestry anyway. It says something equal parts make 1. How many equal parts here make 1? Well, this rectangle is divided into 2 equal parts. The name of each part is a half. Okay, so we have fractions of a half. And then the denominator, okay, so in a half, if I write it like that, I can see my denominator is 2. Okay, each of those is a fraction of a half. 2 of them together make a whole, and the denominator is 2. Okay, so hopefully that's explained how you work through those questions. And then, children, you will have finished a whole week of fractions learning. Okay, and it's time for a rest over the weekend before we continue the fractions chapter after the weekend. Thank you.